Go on, dig in, Bumpy urged, sliding the platter of ribs toward the center of the table. It was June 10th, 1963, at Small's Paradise. The place buzzed with activity, yet all eyes seemed drawn to what unfolded at table 7. The fellow seated opposite Bumpy trembled so violently that gripping his fork was a struggle. This was the guy who'd spilled the beans to the Italians about Bumpy's money stashes, who'd aided Genovese in staking a claim in Harlem, who'd profited handsomely while Bumpy marked time behind bars in Alcatraz. Go on, dig in, Bumpy said again. This round, his fingers drifted toward his belt line, signaling that this feast marked the end. Marcus Smooth Henderson had dominated Harlem for a full 11 years, acting as if it were his personal kingdom. On Tuesdays and Fridays, he'd preside over his domain at Small's Paradise, located at 135th and 7th Avenue, the pinnacle of black nightlife back in 1963. Smooth claimed table 7 in the rear corner, encircled by his posse, sipping premium French cognac and savoring New York City's finest ribs. He favored pricey Italian tailoring at $400 a pop, cruised in a sleek midnight blue Cadillac Eldorado, and resided in a lavish penthouse in Mount Morris Park overlooking Central Park. With 40 guys drawing salaries from him, he oversaw 5 policy banks, raking in numbers throughout Harlem, all under the Genovese family's nod, as long as the weekly dues flowed. Smooth had erected his empire atop the legacy Bumpy Johnson had established. The networks, the set-ups, the Hearn deference. He'd seized every bit of what Bumpy had forged and branded it his. For those 11 years, as Bumpy languished in Alcatraz, Smooth had rested easy until June 7th, 1963. That's when Bumpy emerged from Alcatraz, his worldly possession stuffed into a simple paper sack. At 56, streaks of gray threaded his hair now, 11 years wiser, yet those piercing eyes retained their icy, shrewd calm that unsettled even the toughest souls. Upon reaching New York, Bumpy skipped the comforts of home. He passed on hugging his wife. No pause for recovery after the grueling 3-day rail journey from San Francisco. Instead, he headed directly to Junie Bird's place on 145th Street. Junie awaited him, pushing 63, hair turned silver, but faithful till the end. Hand over the names, Bumpy demanded, bypassing any chair, for Junie had the roster prepared. Over those 11 years, he'd observed, eavesdropped, and documented. He reeled off 15 names, folks who'd amassed fortunes in Bumpy's absence, individuals who'd sliced up his turf, assuming he'd never return. But one moniker caused Bumpy's jaw to clench: Marcus Henderson. Smooth had started as Bumpy's protege, a clever street operator from 118th Street, whom Bumpy had mentored back in 1947. Bumpy instructed him in the numbers racket, guided him through managing policy banks, connected him with key figures, and shielded him from reprisals by Dutch Schultz's lingering gang. When authorities nabbed Bumpy in 1952 on conspiracy charges, he relied on Smooth to steady the ship, manage the outfit, and forward funds to his family. For 2 years, Smooth delivered precisely. Then the cash dried up, the correspondence ceased, and per Junie, Smooth had struck a bargain with Vito Genovese. He'd disclosed the spots of Bumpy's policy banks, fingered the officers in Bumpy's pocket, exposed the cash hideouts, and, in return, the Italians allowed Smooth to control 125th Street solo. Bumpy had endured 11 years in Alcatraz, brooding over that disloyalty, 11 years scheming his response. Bumpy inquired. Junie replied, Every Friday evening, he occupies table 7 at 9 o'clock sharp. Like its routine, Bumpy glanced at his timepiece. Friday, 6 o'clock p.m. Secure me a spot adjacent to his. By 8:45 p.m., Small's Paradise was swelling with patrons. The Friday throng poured in. Hustlers, artists, everyday workers blowing their earnings on hearty meals and chilled brews. The trio of jazz musicians tuned up in the alcove. Servers navigated the room, balancing platters of crispy fried chicken, collard greens, and warm cornbread. Bumpy Johnson entered at 8:50 p.m. He sported the very suit from his cross-country train trip, a worn charcoal gray ensemble past its prime. His footwear showed signs of wear, no visible armament on him. He resembled a specter, a remnant of Harlem's bygone era stepping into its current scene. The din didn't hush entirely, but murmurs altered course. Gazes followed his path amid the patrons. Seasoned locals spotted him right away. Up-and-coming operators, familiar only with legends, murmured among themselves. "That's Bumpy Johnson. Figured he was gone for good. Dude just hit freedom from Alcatraz 3 days back." Bumpy proceeded directly to table 8, adjacent to table 7. Junie Bird was already there, joined by Willie Fish Jackson and Raymond Quick Lewis, a trio of veterans who'd remained true, 3 figures who recalled Harlem under Bumpy's reign. Bumpy settled in with his back against the wall, eyes on the doorway. An ingrained precaution: never expose your rear to the exit. Precisely at 9 p.m., Marcus Smooth Henderson made his entrance. Now 38, Smooth cut a figure in a cream-hued suit, accented by a burgundy necktie, sporting diamond bands on 3 digits, a gleaming gold timepiece. 4 burly escorts shadowed him, guards built like they feasted daily. Smooth chuckled over whatever tale had caught his fancy. Osh, holding sway like the king of the joint, strutting as if he ruled every inch. And in a way, he did own it. Or at least he controlled the safeguards that shielded Small's Paradise from cop intrusions. Smooth's entourage made their way to table 7. That's when his eyes locked on Bumpy. He halted in his tracks. Color fled from his cheeks. His protectors picked up on the shift and traced his stare, spotting Bumpy Johnson seated there, as serene as a lazy afternoon. Their fingers drifted to their belts. Bumpy stayed put, showed no sign of alarm, just fixed Smooth with those icy, vacant eyes. "Marcus," Bumpy murmured, his words slicing through the dining area. "Join me here." It came off more like a command than an invite. Smooth's guards stiffened. One of them, a burly tough named Leon, advanced a step. Quote 11. Junie Bird rose from his seat. At 63, he appeared unthreatening, yet the .45 pistol he gripped screamed menace. Quote 12. Junie uttered calmly. In an instant, firearms appeared all around. Smooth's quartet of guards had palms buried in their coats. Junie clutched his .45. Willie Jackson yanked a sawed-off shotgun from beneath the table. Quick Lewis aimed a revolver straight at Leon's torso. The whole spot went still. The jazz band cut off mid-note. Servers retreated to the back. Patrons scrambled for cover under tables, but Bumpy Johnson never so much as twitched. Bumpy instructed. Smooth's lips parted and shut like a stranded guppy. His fingers trembled. He glanced at his men, at the arsenal, at Bumpy's composed, chilling expression. Smooth hissed to his group. Quote 16. Leon began. Quote 17. The guards edged backward to the exit, grips firm on their pieces, stares glued to Junie's .45. They hated abandoning him, but dying in Small's Paradise on a Friday evening held no appeal. Once they vanished, Bumpy nodded at the vacant seat opposite. "Take it." Marcus Henderson dropped into it. Bumpy waved over a server. The kid shuffled up, head down, dodging glances. "Fetch a rack of ribs," Bumpy directed. "The top shelf kind, plus 2 bourbons." The server bolted for the kitchen. Silence gripped the place now. 250 souls held rigid, eyes riveted on table 7 like it was theater. Even the cooks had paused their work. All present grasped the stakes. All sensed this moment, etching itself into legend. The order came out. The server placed a heaping tray of ribs, hot and saucy, alongside 2 tumblers of bourbon. Then he vanished. Bumpy slid the platter Smooth's way. "Quote 21, he urged, smooth-eyed the ribs as if they were laced with toxin. "Quote 22. Quote 23. Bumpy insisted. "Quote 24. That's when it hits Smooth. No bargaining here, no discussion. This was a public settling of scores. "Bumpy, I beg you." Smooth's tone broke. "Quote 26. Quote 27. Bumpy replied softly. "Quote 28. Rivulets streamed down Smooth's cheeks. "I planned to square it. On my word, I held off till you returned. I've been back 3 days, Marcus. No visit, no message, no funds sent to May for those 11 empty years." Bumpy inched closer. "You figured I'd never return. Figured you'd pulled it off clean. Please, Bumpy, I'll return it all. The cash, the turf, the works. I won't accept it from you," Bumpy stated. "I'm reclaiming it myself. Big distinction." Bumpy's palm slipped to his belt, but no firearm emerged. Instead, he drew a straight-edge blade, the very one he'd toted since 1935, the same that had sliced Dutch Schultz's thug from earlobe to earlobe in a Bronx storage spot, the identical edge that had swayed Lucky Luciano to grant Bumpy free rein in Harlem. Bumpy eased the razor open. Its metal gleamed under the lights. Bumpy queried lightly. Smooth's breaths came in gasps, gaze fixed on the blade. "I'm no Roman ruler," Bumpy went on, "but I embody Harlem, and every soul here must get the message." He amplified his tone for the entire Smalls paradise to catch. "While I rotted in Alcatraz, too many of you lost sight of the builder, the street owner, the truth that respect comes through effort, not seizure." His eyes bored into Smooth. "Marcus Henderson lost sight. Now Marcus Henderson will aid me in the reminder." Bumpy rose. Smooth lunged to flee, but Junie materialized behind, barrel digging into his back. "On your feet," Bumpy commanded. Smooth complied, knees quivering so fiercely he could hardly hold himself up. Bumpy circled the table until he stood directly in front of the traitor who'd crossed him. With the whole place holding its breath, he lifted the blade toward Smooth's neck, not aiming to end him, but to leave a mark. In a swift slash, Bumpy drew a shallow slice along Smooth's left cheek. It wasn't fatal, merely sufficient to leave a lasting blemish, enough to ensure that everyone in Harlem would recognize Marcus Henderson as the one who turned on Bumpy Johnson. Smooth let out a howl as crimson trickled down his features, soaking his pale suit. Bumpy murmured. He snapped the razor shut and slipped it into his pocket. "Quote 44. Bumpy warned. Quote 45. Pivoting to face the crowd in the restaurant, he declared. "The rest of you, take note. Bumpy Johnson has returned. The code remains unchanged. Settle your debts. Honor your commitments. Safeguard your own. If anyone's itching to challenge me, you know my spot." At 9:47 p.m. on June 10th, 1963, Bumpy Johnson strode out of Small's paradise. He abandoned Marcus Anderson's seeping blood at Table 7, along with 250 onlookers poised to carry the tale through Harlem by dawn. As the sun rose, every operator, numbers runner, and corner enforcer uptown learned the ruler had reclaimed his domain. Marcus Smooth Henderson boarded a bus bound for Philadelphia. By midday, he stayed away for good. That gash became his signature, an indelible warning of the consequences for crossing a monarch. Over the next 72 hours, 3 additional figures who'd sliced into Bumpy's holdings vanished from the scene without fanfare. Not murdered, just relocated. With a firm message: keep your distance or end up like Smooth. The Genovese outfit, which had infiltrated Harlem during Bumpy's imprisonment, dispatched a lieutenant for talks. The discussion wrapped in 4 minutes. Bumpy's demands were straightforward. You've got 2 weeks to withdraw from Harlem. All land above 110th Street reverts to my hold. No room for debate. The mobsters departed in silence. They'd already sacrificed 3 operatives that week defending Bumpy's former turf. Battling him proved too expensive compared to the gains. In just 6 months, Bumpy had reassembled his entire network under his grip. Not via battles or violence, but through intimidation, admiration, and strategic dominance. That evening at Small's Paradise evolved into Harlem folklore. Elders still recount how Bumpy required no entourage or grand orations. He entered an eatery, confronted his backstabber, and armed with a single blade plus 250 observers, reasserted his command over the neighborhood. You can cage a man for 11 years. You can siphon his funds, seize his domain, alienate his allies, but you can't strip his crown. Not from a true sovereign. That night, Bumpy Johnson demonstrated a truth. Authority isn't measured by the biggest arsenal. It's defined by the deepest allegiance. And allegiance isn't handed over. It's forged via fidelity, cunning, and the resolve to act where others falter, especially when retribution calls. Marcus Henderson sold him out for cash. The Italians contested him for land. All the opportunists figured Bumpy was done. They each absorbed the identical truth. Bumpy Johnson issues no idle warnings. He delivers vows, and he fulfills them all. That's what earned him the title of Harlem's Godfather. If this account of allegiance, dominance, and urban reckoning resonates, smash that subscribe. Like if you get that true leaders forgo tiaras. They thrive on esteem. Pass it along to a friend who realizes disloyalty always extracts a toll. What move would you make in Bumpy's shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments.